You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It is Monday. It is time for another episode of the Crypto Rundown. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you folks are binging these days. Hope you're having a good start to your trading year. Remember, not listening to the full network, you are missing out. Check it out wherever you get your favorite podcast. And if you want more great content, including awesome, unusual activity content, great pro Q&As, like another one coming up tomorrow, and you want to get access to our giveaways, congratulations to Joe Lewis, one of our pro members, for winning the December Pro Trading Crate. You want to get your name in the hat to win the January crate? Only one place to go. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires as we kick off this Just the Facts, ma'am edition of the Crypto Rundown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, listeners, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, when we break down everything going on in the world of the big dog, which is Bitcoin. I'm not going to lie to you at the top of the show here. I'm not feeling 100%. The throat is fighting with me, but I'm going to struggle through to make sure you folks get your shows this week. As we dive into a little bit of the old BTC action, Bitcoin looking a wee bit lower right now in this now really first full trading week of the new year, even though it's pretty much the third trading week of the new year. A lot of days off over the last couple of sessions, listeners, but Bitcoin doesn't take a day off, and it is turning to the dark side right now. 91,955 as we kicked off the show. That puts it down a little over 10,000 handles, 10,018 to be precise, from where it was this time a week ago, 101,973. So all that hype, all that joy about crossing back over 100K, getting dampened a little bit. Speaking of hype, even though I am struggling, I'll break this down a little bit for you, listeners, because we did just hit a pretty interesting milestone anniversary for Bitcoin out there, listeners. This was back just a few weeks ago, January 3rd, that marked the 16th birthday for good old BTC. Of course, January 3rd of 2009, That's when everyone's favorite, Satoshi Nakamoto, I won't get into, did he exist? Did he not exist? Who the heck is he? I won't get into any of that. I'll let you folks go down that rabbit hole if you like. Instead, that's when he mined the Genesis block of what would become the Bitcoin blockchain. A couple other milestones happened since then, of course, after January 2009. March 17th, 2010, the first ever recorded price of Bitcoin, a whopping 0.003 cents. Man, how many of us wish we could go back and take it all at 0.003? A little hard to get back then. You had to go through a few hoops to get it. But from 0.003 to over 100,000. Quite a run out there. May of that year, the first real world transaction. And again, how much does this person regret this? 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Yes. Bitcoin over 100 grand last week. 10,000 of them for two pizzas. Well, 2 pizzas makes it better. 1 pizza, maybe not. 2 pizzas. I hope the toppings were delicious. July of that year, 2010, we saw Mt. Gox launch. Spoiler alert, that doesn't end well. February of 2011, the Silk Road on the dark web, also a good place, started exclusively taking Bitcoin for payment. End of November 2012, November 28th, that's when the first Bitcoin halving hit. March 28th of 2013, that's when the market cap surpassed 1 billion for the first time. We are now north of 2 trillion listeners, so quite a run, even though we have come back below the 2T level. We'll get to that in a little bit. November of that same year, so November of 2013, Bitcoin price hits 1,000 for the first time. It would dally around that level for a bit, but that was the first time it broke it. February of the next year, 2014, February 28th. Again, remember, spoiler alert, I said it wasn't going to end well. Mt. Gox files for bankruptcy. Hard to believe that was 2014. Seemed that was more recent than that. But yeah, they stole 850,000 Bitcoin. It's a lot of Bitcoin, listeners, and that kind of just was I remember that day. That was a dark moment for the crypto space. 2015, Microsoft starts taking Bitcoin for Xbox and Windows purchases. But still kind of a quiet period then. 2016, that's when things were starting to kick into high gear. If you were watching the traditional financial space, you started seeing people start to become aware of Bitcoin much more. CME at that time launched their Bitcoin reference rate benchmark, which would be kind of the basis for their futures coming down the road a little bit. August 1st of 2017, Bitcoin had the hard fork, created Bitcoin Cash. So some interesting developments there. December of that year, 2017, when I look back on that, that was kind of the genesis of this show. We launched it, I believe, in early 2018. But the developments of 2017, where everyone was starting to become aware of Bitcoin, let's say, in the broad financial markets. It was starting to move out of its kind of core crypto ghetto, if you will, and really into the mainstream of consciousness. December of that year, December 18th, is when it became viable really for the broader mainstream to start trading these. That's when CME launched their cash-settled Bitcoin futures. A lot of people said, well, that was going to be the beginning of the end because now you had a practical way to actually sell and exit your Bitcoin. Before that, it was kind of a bit of a roach motel. You can get in, but it was hard to get out. And so the Bitcoin futures eliminated some of those hurdles, and now you saw the first crypto winter kick in, which was, well, maybe not the first, but one of the ones that really caught a lot of people because people had a way to viably sell the product now. So we saw Bitcoin have some issues since then. We relaunched our show, the Crypto Rundown, even though to me it is still the little engine that could here on the network. It was launched around that time. May of that next year, May 2018, the third halving event happened, cut the rewards from 12.5 Bitcoins to 6.25 Bitcoins. And then we know what happened kind of since then, 2020s. We saw MicroStrategy start investing. They invested $250 million, Square $50 million, Tesla a bunch. February of 21, market cap hit 1 trillion for the first time. In hindsight, doesn't sound like a lot because we're at 2T now, but at the time, that was pretty crazy. That was, of course, in the middle of the meme stock frenzy, so everything was going to the moon. April of that year, Coinbase listed, so that kind of became one of the first real crypto exchanges to go public. September of 21, we saw El Salvador become the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender. We all know how well that worked out. And then, of course, October of 21, BITO launched, and that, for a lot of you, was a seminal moment as well because you didn't have the spot ETFs, but you had the ETF on the Bitcoin futures, and that was good enough for a lot of you. And you could certainly trade options on it, which I know for us here on this show in particular was a bit of a game changer. And then fast forward a few years, obviously in the interim, We saw FTX melt down also around that same time frame. And then fast forward into 2024 and the other big event in BTC happening, of course, the spot ETFs being approved in January of this past year. November, of course, the options on IBIT go live, another game changer. And of course, we also had Bitcoin hitting 100K for the first time. So quite a run from 0.003 cents to 100K over that period. So there you go, a little bit of a history lesson for you in all things Bitcoin, listeners, as now we dive into all the action in all things BTC. And you know what? As we're selling off a little bit, we're starting to see things get a little bit spicier, which may be also indicative that we're starting to see a little bit of a premium sneak back into that put wing, which is interesting. Historically, the premium's always been to the calls in the crypto assets, but if folks are spooked of a little bit of a pullback, then maybe we'll see that start to change. Last week, the 7-day weekly vol was a 48. This week, a 56, so ticking up a wee bit. 30-day vol, 56 last week, 57.7, so ticking up ever so slightly out there, but ticking up. That's a change because we've seen Bitcoin vol mostly treading water for the last few months. And the 180-day vol actually ticking down a little bit from 62 down to a 60, which is interesting. But let's look at the skew. Let's see what that's telling us out there right now. Weekly skew turning negative, not surprising. We were at a positive 0.6 last week. This week, negative 2.25, so swinging to the dark side. 30-day skew, positive 1.6 last week, swinging down ever so slightly, positive still, but 0.75, so coming in almost a full point there. And the 180-day skew, the 6-month skew, ticking up, which is interesting. 3.4 last week, 3 3/4 this week. Out to the land of IBIT we go, listeners. That was one of the seminal developments in Bitcoin over the course of the past year, and certainly for Bitcoin options traders, it has been a sea change. There's pretty much pre and there's post IBIT out there in terms of options trading on Bitcoin out there, and it's been a hot one. 52.25 was where IBIT was when we kicked off the show. It puts it down 5 3/4 points. So obviously we're in it a little bit as Bitcoin has turned to the dark side a little bit. The ADV, though, continuing to tick up, 366,000 contracts. That's respectable. It gets us up another 27,000 contracts a day over the course of the past week. And it seems like we're going to hit that today. Already 331,000 contracts on the tape. Still an hour to go left in the session. So things are looking spicy out there. 30-day vol, though, coming in a little bit. 56 down 1 point from where it was this time a week ago. The big dog out there today in IBIT, Feb doubles. Feb 55 is going up 26,000 times, and we have 16,000 of the March doubles. The March 55 is going up. Kind of wonder if that's a bit of a roll, listeners. Looks like we have the Feb 45 puts going up for $1.08 against the 55.65 vertical. So they did it for $1 straight up, and it's hard to tell. There's OI on all of that, so it could be closing. Could also be collar here as well. The way that went up, it's like they might have paid $1.08 for the Feb 45 puts and sold the vertical $287.79. So it's like they might have actually collected $1. So would you do it the other way, listeners? Would you sell it? The 55.65 vertical, again, I bid at 52.5 right now, and then put that money to work buying the 45 puts. So you're not getting that type protection, but you are getting some protection. You're stopped out below the 45 strike. And collecting $1 to do that. You like that trade, listeners? Kind of interesting. We haven't seen a ton of wild collars going up out here. But worth noting, they also do buy the 65, so in case they are wrong, and they're not doing those for nothing. Paid 79 cents for those. So in case Bitcoin does turn around, they are participating again back above the 65 hand. I have to imagine that's being done against some IBIT, against some spot. So kind of interesting out there, listeners, as we keep on rolling. The top size position right now in IBIT are the Jan 57s, 55,000 of those bad boys, followed by number 2, 47,000 of the Feb doubles, the Feb 55s, which again, may be leaning towards the fact that this is a closing trade because there is so much OI on that strike. But we'll know for certain tomorrow. Let's keep going out to BITO. BITO giving up the ghost this week as well. 22.25, down 2.25 points from last show. The ADV continuing to move in the wrong direction. 73,000 contracts a day, down about 6,000 from this time last week. About 50-odd thousand contracts on the tape as we kicked off the show. Today looks like the big dog today. 5,500 of the March 23 puts now in the money puts. Interesting. Let's see what those traded for, listener. They traded for about $3.50, $3.20, $3.15, up to about $3.50. You like selling those, listeners, for $3.50? Kind of interesting. It's a bit of a ways to go. You're drawing a line in the sand there. You're stopping out at 23, minus, of course, the roughly $3.50 you're collecting out there. So interesting stuff out there, listeners. You like stopping out BITO at about $19.50. That's what you're doing with that trade. Kind of interesting. But you're also collecting some juice. That is about that's about a 57 volatility if you are selling those, listeners. So not nothing. The 30-day vol out there in BITO is at about a 60 right now, listeners. So about close to where those puts are trading. And the big dog position in BITO right now, still the Jan 30s, 98,000 of those looking ever more distant in the rearview mirror as we keep on going into the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, listeners, to the altcoin universe we go. And in the past, the narrative has been a rising Bitcoin tide lifts all boats. Well, now you pull that plug out of the drain and it sucks everything down along with it. Last week, it cost you about $23.1 billion to break into the top 10. This week, that is down to $18.9 billion. So that's a big hit. Still Tron clinging to the number 10 spot, listeners. Again, with that aforementioned $18.9 billion worth of market cap. Number 9, we've got Cardano, $31.8 billion. Number 8, USD Coin, $45.6 billion. Number 7, it's Doge, $47.7 billion. Number 6, it's Solana, $85.4 billion. Number 5, BNB, $96.3 billion. Number 4, it's Tether, $137.5 billion. Number 3, XRP, $140.5 billion. Number 2, it is E361. And the big dog, Bitcoin, back below 2T, as we alluded to earlier, 1.8 trillion worth of market cap, listeners. So a rising tide lifts all boats, and you pull that plug on the drain, and it sucks all the boats right back down, listeners, including ETH. Man, ETH kind of underperforming last year and taking a big hit over this past week from 3,700 roughly where we were at the end of the show last week to 3,010, down nearly 700 handles on the week. If there's one thing ETH did not need, it is another shot to the downside. It was just north of 4,000 not too long ago. Seemed like ETH might finally be playing catch up, and then here we go again. Right back down, listeners. Not going to be music to the ears of all the devoted ETH diehards out there. In terms of your vol, ETH catching a bid quite a bit out here. I think some folks were taken aback by just the severity of the pullback out here in ETH, an asset which didn't have that much to give, now giving more back than people expected. Not a good thing. 60 even on the 7-day vol a week ago, listeners. 77.25 this week, so weekly vol getting spicy. 30-day vol, 67 last week, 71.3 this week's up 4.3 points on the 30-day vol barometer. Going out a full 6 months, actually coming in 73 down to 70. It's kind of interesting. The long-term holders don't seem spooked about these moves, either in Bitcoin or in ETH, even as the rest of the market is starting to say, what the heck's going on out here? Weekly skew in ETH, listeners. +1 last week, swinging to a -3.25 out there this week, listeners. So interesting stuff afoot. If we look back to earlier this week, looks like the skew, the weekly skew, the nadir for the week was -4.25. That was back last Friday, the 10th. And at that point, the 30-day skew was a +1.15, and the 6-month skew wasn't that much changed at 5.95. So the lowest we got was -4.25. You might think, given the severity of the sell-off, might have dipped a little bit below that. So interesting what we're seeing out there from a skew perspective. Again, 30-day skew right now at a +2, +1.85 on the show last week, +2, and the 6-month skew 5.85 right now, and 5.5 on the show last week. Let's run through a few others here, listeners, and we'll get out of here for this week and give my voice a little bit of a rest. Got a lot of content to do this week, listeners, and not much voice to do it with. Solana, 176.61. Man, they have cut the legs out from Solana. It was 220.18 on the show last week, down 43.5 handles. Man, Solana giveth and Solana taketh away, and they're taken away right now. XRP, 243 last week, 247, managing to be one of the few that's kind of bucking the trend out there, keeping its head above water. Doge giving up some of the ghosts as well, 38.9 cents last week, 32.4 cents this week, down 6.5 cents. That's a big move for Doge. Litecoin, 114.82 last week, 95.04 this week, down nearly 20 handles, 19.78 to be precise. So they're coming for Litecoin as well. Cardano, $1.11 last week, 91 cents this week, down 20 cents on the week. So cutting the legs out of Cardano as well. Nothing is safe. Polkadot listener, 777 last week, 618, down about $1.60 on the week. My goodness. Shiba, 0.000024 last week. This week, a whopping million zeros, 2-0 listeners. So unfortunately, you're giving back the hubcaps and the lug nuts on your Shiba Lambos this week. All right, listeners, that's all my voice can take for the crypto rundown this week. But don't worry, we're not done this week. Back again tomorrow for you pro folks with an awesome pro Q&A with our buddy, Mr. Uncle Mike, who just loves all things crypto. So you want to give him a hard time, head on over to the pro. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. So many great folks joining us over the holidays. Become a part of the awesome community there, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. And of course, while you're checking things out online, make sure you check out our friends over there at Amber Data, amberdata.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. Their GUI is now free for everybody over there, so get on over there. You have no excuse not to be checking out all this data. There's a lot of great stuff there. amberdata.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. That's going to do it for us on the crypto rundown this week. Back again with the pro Q&A exclusively for our pro friends tomorrow. Wednesday, of course, the doubleheader of the futures rundown and options bootcamp. Thursday, no day off this week. Back again for This Week in Futures Options and the Option Block. Friday, vol views. And then we're back one final time for our pro friends to get weird with options oddities. And we're back again next Monday, another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.